the big thing, again, as Sean had indicated, was the definition of the design flood elevation. And just give a little more clarity on what that means. So the base flood elevation is what's in the maps, all right? And those maps are referred to as FIRM, F-I-R-M, and it stands for Flood Insurance Rate Map. So essentially it's a risk assessment. I mentioned earlier about, the way that the codes are designed to certain standards. So they're driven essentially by the insurance industry that underwrites the policies, and they establish the thresholds for a certain way of managing risks. And the risks are based on certain probability recurrence intervals for any particular loading or particular storm event. So the 100-year storm that you hear talked about is essentially, it's a one chance in 100 of occurring in any given year. So it doesn't mean it's just one every 100 years. You can have back-to-back, storms of that same magnitude. But it's a probability, kind of analysis that's done, and then it relates back to the different flood levels and so forth. So those get incorporated into these flood maps, and then the flood maps get adopted by the community, and then that becomes codified. And once it becomes adopted by the community, it becomes the law of the land. And by adopting those regulations, the building codes relate back to those in terms of determining what the various elevations are. So the design flood elevation, what it does, it adds an additional what's called freeboard. So it's essentially, think about it as maybe a factor of safety. So whatever the base flood elevation is, there's an additional amount that's added onto it to deal with certain levels of risk.